Hello YouTube, today I'm going to be showing you how to make beef stir fry, affordably of course. So the ingredients you're going to need are 500 grams of minced beef, the most expensive component of the dish. It's going to cost you around 5 euros and 50 cents for 500 grams. From Lidl it's a little bit cheaper at Aldi, I'm pretty sure. Then you're going to need 1 cup of peas, which costs around 2 euros per bag per kilogram and around 50 cents for a cup. Then you're going to need 5 knobs of garlic. You can buy 3 heads like this for around 150 at Aldi, and it's going to cost you around 15 cents for the 5 heads. And then you're going to need 2 medium-sized onions, which you can buy for around 150 per kilogram or around 30 to 40 cents for the 2 onions. So what you're going to want to do first is cut the onions and garlic. If you're unsure of the best way to cut it, I would recommend looking at my fried rice tutorial where I show you. So we're going to skip ahead to once these are cut. So once you've minced the vegetables, what you're going to want to do is preheat a pan to medium-high heat or just medium. And you're going to want to get some oil. You can use butter, vegetable oil, olive oil. I use olive oil because it's what I have in the house, but it is pretty expensive. So if you're on a budget, I'd recommend using vegetable oil, but olive oil is significantly healthier. So you're going to want to put in a few tablespoons. You can start with 2 tablespoons of oil, butter, etc. Any grease, ghee if you want. And what I like to do is add the garlic first. I find that giving the garlic a little extra time to develop a sort of char, enhances the flavor a bit more. So I like to do that. And after a few seconds, maybe 10, 20, what you're gonna wanna do is add the onions. So just give this a little stir. Don't let them burn a little too much. And as they start to develop a sort of golden brown color, I'm going to add the onions. Just like this. Now you're going to want to leave these in for a few minutes, sort of stir fry them. And what you're going to want to do is saute them with some salt, because the last thing you want is some bland onions in your food. You can also add some pepper. I like to, you don't have to. Like this. There you go. And yeah, give that a few minutes. So once the onions have developed this sort of golden brown color and they're soft, what you're going to want to do is add in your 500 grams of minced beef, straight up. You can season it before adding it, but I find it's much more convenient in regards to dishes and just time if you just season it while it's already in the pan. So you just want to break up your ground beef, like this. And then, feel free to add more oil when you put in your beef, although if you're using 20% fat ground beef, which is the standard, you don't need too much oil. There's already oil in the meat. And the seasonings I use to season the meat, although you can season it however you want, it's really up to personal preference, is salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, cayenne pepper, and paprika. All these seasonings, pretty standard, but if you don't have them, they cost around €1 each from any Aldi, Lidl, or Rewe. These containers that look like this tend to be cheaper, or the ones with Ya on them. That's kind of like the budget brand. So I'd recommend those. And you really want to make sure that you get a lot of seasoning. You tend to underestimate how much powder you need to actually put flavor in your food, which is a mistake I made the first few times, and unflavorful meat is not that great. So don't be stingy. Although, of course, especially in regards to salt, better too little and add later than too much. You can use salt, which is the standard seasoning, but I tend to prefer a more sort of Asian taste, so I like to use a bit of soy sauce, although salt works perfectly fine. And I just add it like this. And then, yeah. You want to mix it around and make sure that there isn't just clumps of seasoning on certain pieces of meat. And once that's mixed up, I would put a lid over the pan like this to make sure that everything gets cooked a little bit better, and leave that for a few minutes, occasionally stirring until the meat is fully or almost fully brown. Okay, so due to issues with my phone, the previous footage cut out, but once the beef was mostly brown, I added in the peas, the entire cup into this. And what I did was I seasoned the meat again with, well, essentially the same seasonings that I used for the beef, although I used soy sauce. Of course, you don't have to. It really doesn't make that much of a difference in terms of quality of the dish. But I find this is an important step, or else your vegetables will sort of taste bland. And the last thing you want is bland vegetables ruining the flavor of the dish. But yeah, so you want to let those cook for a few minutes. And once that's done, that is essentially it. So then you finish the dish. As I said earlier with the prices, assuming you have seasonings for your meat, the only costs are $5.50 for the meat itself, $2 for the €2 for the peas, 30 cents for the onions, which you can buy by weight as opposed to giant bags, and that's it, coming up to around €8. The actual cost of stuff we actually use comes down to around $6.50. And when you're done, you get this portion of meat, which I find tends to feed 5 servings. So that comes out to approximately 120, 130 per serving, which is pretty good. You can eat this with a carb of your choice. You can eat it plain, but that is, well, it's quite costly to just eat meat by itself. I'd recommend eating with rice. I find it's very good. Although it does kind of work with pasta, although pasta is not my personal preference. And if you really want, you can have it with bread. But yeah, that's it for the recipe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.